Local tourism has welcomed the United States lifting its travel ban on 8 Southern African countries on the 31st of December. For a reaction on this, I'm joined by Clayson Monyela, DIRCO's head of public diplomacy. Mr. Monyela, a pleasure to have you on the program on this Christmas. Let's get into it. The Biden administration will lift its temporary travel restrictions on the 31st of December on 8 Southern African countries. Now, restrictions were first put in place last month over concerns over this Omicron variant and the attempt to slow down the spread of the variant. But it seems that the measures were just simply unjustifiable.
Yeah, good afternoon and Christmas to you and viewers. It was certainly unscientific. The WHO has said the same, and we've been proven over time that this was totally unnecessary. It was very discriminatory, but we certainly welcome the decision now to lift these restrictions on South Africa and the other Southern African countries. But hope that going forward, we will no longer be talking about travel bans and the imposition of restrictions. I think countries should be reminded that in the management of a global pandemic like the COVID-19 pandemic, countries need partnerships, we need cooperation, we need to share knowledge and expertise and information. And what South African scientists did should have been applauded by the international community as opposed to punished in the way that they did by imposing travel restrictions. We certainly are relieved many of them are now lifting this restrictions, but they were totally unnecessary.
Now, in the same breath, when reacting to the travel bans initially imposed by other African countries, President Cyril Ramaphosa cautioned African nations more specifically to not act like former colonizer countries by imposing unscientific travel bans. He also went further to say he wants to engage with 4 African countries, including Egypt, Mauritius, Rwanda, as well as the Seychelles, after the UK, the US, and much of the developed world imposed these travel bans. Speak to us about how South Africa has had to navigate and play a balancing act to not only acknowledge these concerns that are being raised over the Omicron variant and also give a response as respectfully as possible, while allowing countries to also give their own reasons. We'd like to have a discussion here about just your own stance as DIRCO in terms of how you've handled the matter.
Look, I mean, we've always said that we respect the right of every country to protect their citizens. Bans proven not to work. If you're managing an airborne like COVID-19 with its various mutations and variants that develop over time, there's been many variants. In fact, it turns out that countries that reacted in this way and imposed travel restrictions on Southern Africa, this new variant was actually in their backyard way before it was detected and reported by South African scientists. So it just shows you that travel bans don't work when you in a global pandemic, COVID-19. Now, in the case of African countries that followed suit when the countries and others imposed travel restrictions, we were certainly disappointed that African countries could do this, especially in the context where they themselves have been subjected to treatment by some European countries that they were not happy with and had to rely on the support of other African countries to get themselves out of those situations. So we certainly hope that there's been lessons learned from this experience, that going forward, Africans in particular should realize that we need to unite and work together as a continent, because our challenges are many, and in the context of COVID-19, South Africa has been, assisting many of them. In fact, we've donated, I'm sure you saw last week, a statement from the presidency that donated vaccines to several African countries. So it can't be that it's countries that turn around and impose travel bans on South Africa, especially if you think about the negative and devastating impact of a travel ban, the impact it's had on our travel and tourism industry, on business, on families that have not been able to travel and see members of their own families that they haven't seen in many years, given the various lockdowns that were imposed by countries and international. So we certainly hope The lessons learned from this, and we'll move forward as an international community and understand that partnerships, collaboration, sharing of knowledge and expertise is how you manage a global pandemic.
That's DIRCO's head of public diplomacy, Clayson Monyela, speaking to us there about the U.S.'s plans to lift the travel bans. This is set for the 31st of December.